because the wines here are so good. And this is one example of that. So good. But you come here to Alentejo, it seems like it's on every menu. We walk past all these places and they all got asparagus com ovos. That is so good. Oh my God. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel channel for foodies. I'm Brent Peterson. I'm an American living in Portugal, and today we're in Beja, Portugal, in the Alentejo region. And Beja may not be on your itinerary when you come to Portugal, but we're going to check it out and maybe you'll want to make it part of your travel plans. Beja is famous for its history. There's a castle here, there's a bunch of churches here, so we're going to check those out. But it's also known for some famous pastries. So that might be a good reason to add it to your list of places to come. Beja's in Alentejo. This is the largest wine producing region in Portugal. That might be another good reason to come here and check it out. We'll try some wine while we're here. Hopefully we'll find some good wine. And we are at the train station here in Beja. And train station might seem like a strange place to go on your itinerary. It's just a place of transit, really. You come and you go. But the thing about train stations in Portugal is they're often decorated with these beautiful tile murals, the Alentejo tiles. So these tiles, these murals, they depict life in Portugal, like this lady, she's collecting grain. There's pictures of cork trees. Cork is super important to the economy of Portugal, especially this region, Alentejo. Portugal is the largest cork producer in the world. There's pictures of people tending sheep, and there's also historical pictures of famous battles, the defeat of the Moorish army in the 12th century, and landmarks in Beja. So stuff like that you'll see on these murals, and all over Portugal, train stations are decorated with these beautiful murals. So even if you're arriving by bus, and that's a way to arrive here, make your way out to the train station wherever you go in Portugal, but especially here in Beja because of these beautiful murals. So we're going to hike up the hill and head into the old town of Beja and see what we can find for food and drink and historical landmarks and have some fun. So come along with me. This is a restaurant, Dnish in Beja. It's right across from the Beja Castle, so it's conveniently located here. It's one of the top restaurants in Beja, and you might wonder who Dnish was. Well, the reason why it's so close to the castle is he was the king of Portugal who ordered the construction of the castle and the tower back in the 15th century. So that's why they named the restaurant after him. That's why there's a street named after him. He was a beloved king from the medieval going into the Renaissance times. Anyway, what did we get? Well, we got just a simple salad here. Salad, lettuce, onion, and tomato. A little oregano on that, that's good. It's fresh. But what I came here for is the asparagus com ovos, which is just a classic dish in this region of Alentejo. It's eggs, scrambled eggs, and asparagus. You really find it, well, you can get it all year round, but it's really popular in the spring because that's when the new asparagus shoots up. So this is a dish you will see in all kinds of restaurants in Alentejo. I first had it in Évora, and you can watch our Évora video to see me trying it there. One of our favorite places in all of Portugal is located there. But wanted to get this here. Because it's just a classic dish that you'll get in Alentejo. And you know, we're in the Lisbon region, but we're just like 10 minutes away by ferry to Alentejo. You never see this on menus in our city of Setúbal. But you come here to Alentejo, it seems like it's on every menu. We walk past all these places and they all got asparagus com ovos, cogumelos com ovos, that's mushroom and eggs. But you never see asparagus and eggs in our city. So whenever I come to Alentejo, I'm always sure to get it here. So we're inside the Beja Castle, and this is one of the biggest attractions here in Beja. Beja's been, settled since the Iron Age, and then the Romans came here, but this wasn't built until after the Reconquest, after the Islamic armies were defeated and Portugal became once again Christian. This castle and walls were built in the 1400s approximately, although there was some stuff that was going on before then. But this is really cool because it's so intact. So much of this is still standing and you can still walk around all over here. Several of the towers are still standing, and if you go inside, now it's free to get into the castle itself, but if you go up these stairs and you go inside, you can pay €2 and climb to the very top. And it's 180 some steps. It's worth it. You get the best views in all of Beja, and you get up there and you see why they wanted to build a castle here, because it's the best defending spot in the whole area, and you can see all around to the surrounding valley. So it's pretty cool. There's a short little film in there that kind of tells the history of it, but really you're coming here to walk around and see the views and imagine what it was like in the 1400s to live here and fend off whoever was coming next. Also in here, now this is really cool. There's a museum that I really wanted to go to. In here is the Museum of George Vieira. And he was a sculptor, a 20th century sculptor, worked mostly in terracotta, although he did some sketching. He worked in iron as well. He is famous for a anti-fascist statue that stands here in Beja. And it's really beautiful and thought-provoking. But inside here, several of his sculptures, the lady inside said they rotate them all the time. So the one I really wanted to see, which is a bull done in bronze, that one is not on display this month, but there's a funny terracotta sculpture of a pig in there. And you can go in there and see that right now. And there's also several sketches. It's really fascinating. This guy was kind of a surrealist. If you think of Picasso, not in terms of his paintings, but in terms of his sculpture, that's kind of where this guy was coming from. That was kind of the era, although he was born a little bit after that, but that was kind of where he was coming from. And he was also an anti-fascist, so points for George Rivera. We're going to go and see if we can check out his anti-fascist sculpture, but I'm glad we went into that museum, and that's free to enter as well. So they're right here inside the castle. It's a cool spot to check out. Don't skip on the museum when you come to the castle. Behind me is the Beja Cathedral, and it might not look like much from the outside, but it's worth going on inside. It's free to get in. And if you're a fan of the blue and white tile style in Portugal, the azulejo tiles, you'll want to go inside. They've got some really cool examples and murals of blue and white tiles all over the inside of that church, several murals. There's some artwork in there as well, and there's some naves that are marginally interesting, a few paintings as well, but really it's the blue and white tiles that you want to go in and see. I know I said we were going to go and see George Vieira's political prisoner sculpture, but this church is literally right next door to the castle. You can't see it, but it's 50 feet away from the castle. And this church, it was built in the 1500s, so well after the castle, but there was a church that was sitting here in the 1300s, so that must have been the original church that went with the castle, but this church wasn't completed until 1590. So that's the Beja Cathedral. Now we can go and look at our political prisoner statue. Okay, here it is, the Monument to Political Prisoners by George Vieira. Might not look like a political prisoner, but that's what it's meant to depict. This sculpture was first done in the 1950s, as a protest to the political situation here in Portugal, which was still under a dictatorship in the 50s. In fact, it wasn't until 1974 that the dictatorship was eventually overthrown. And as you can imagine, dictators aren't too happy about having monuments to political prisoners in their town squares. So this was not shown in Portugal at the time. It was displayed first in London in 1952. It wasn't until the 90s, 20 years after the dictatorship fell, that this piece was finally put on public display here in Beja. You might be asking, what did George Vieira have to do with Beja? Was he born here? No, he was born in Lisbon. Did he live here? No. But he loved the peace and the tranquility of the city of Beja. He loved coming here and having a coffee and relaxing. And so he said to the people of Beja, find a place for me to display this and you can put this sculpture up. So they did, and this is where it stood for the last 25 years. I think it's really quite thought-provoking, especially when you consider what Portugal went through for 40 some odd years with the dictatorship of Salazar, and people who were political prisoners and people who disappeared and never saw their families again. So we've got a political prisoner, a couple of them actually, sculptures in our town of Setúbal, and I like seeing this public art in Portugal as a way to remember the dark times of the fascist dictators up until 1974 in the Carnation Revolution. This is Dona Tangerina. This is a vegan restaurant in Beja, which is a rarity, I have to say. Glad we stumbled upon this place because we were going to the municipal market and pick up some fruit and some veggies, maybe some cheese and some bread, and do a picnic in the municipal gardens. But the market closed down in 2020 for renovations. It was supposed to reopen in the summer of 2023, never did. Went by it, it's totally vacant. There's nothing there. There's a mini market, mini Preco there, which is like a glorified convenience store. We weren't going to go in there. We wanted fresh fruits and veggies, but then we found this place. So I'm really happy that we found this place. Let me tell you what we got. So this was a plate of the day, the special for the day, and started off with this soup. And the nice lady who owns this place said, I asked her, what's the name of the soup? She said, doesn't have a name. She said, I use all fresh local produce, so whatever's in season. This one is pumpkin and spinach, and it's got some seeds on the top, and I gotta say, it is outstanding. And if I know Karen, she's going to try and reproduce this when we get back home. And then coming with the plate is a vegan quiche. And so I don't know what egg substitute she used, and I didn't even ask. Potato, definitely. That is so good. Oh my God. That might be the best vegan quiche I've ever had. Absolutely delicious, divine. And then just a little green salad. So some shredded lettuce. And then fresh figs. Those aren't figs, those are tomatoes. They're heirloom tomatoes. I just glanced down and I said, oh, figs, because they're kind of purpley and red. No, those aren't figs. That makes sense. Figs really aren't in season right now. So anyway, this is fantastic. Really happy with this. This whole thing, including the beverage, €5.50. What a deal. So for the drink, I got water. Karen got lemonade. fresh squeezed lemons. Oh, really good. The thing you should know about lemonade here in Portugal is that typically it doesn't get very, very sweet like in the US. So that has a lot more tartness to it. A lot of times if you go into a cafe and you order lemonade in the summer, what'll happen is they'll just have lemon squeezed in water with no sugar at all. This is slightly sweetened, but really not sweet at all. You can taste that fresh fruit. Man, I am so glad we found this place. We might be coming back. It is that good. I'm going to enjoy this, and we'll be ready to check out some more stuff in Beja this afternoon. Behind me is the St. Amaro Church, which has a fascinating history here in Beja. You know, all of Portugal, after the Romans fell in the 5th century, were taken over by Germanic tribes, mostly the Visigoths. And if you read history, in fact, I remember this from elementary school, they called these Germanic tribes the Visigoths, they called them barbarians. And when you read Portuguese history, that's pretty much all you see. It's kind of a holding place between the Roman and the Moorish occupation of Portugal. And you don't get much more information than that. But I went into that church, and what it is a free museum of Visigoth artifacts. I've never seen such an extensive collection of Visigoth artifacts. They've got a Visigoth battle sword in there and several columns and things to support the columns. It's funny because there's not much left of the Visigoth era. There's Roman stuff you see all over Portugal. There's plenty of remnants of the Moorish times and the time past that in the 15th and 16th centuries. But very little do you see or hear about the Visigoths. So this is a really cool place to go into. And what I found out was there's a lot of grapevines in their artwork that's carved into these pillars and this statuary, which says to me these guys were probably making wine. And it wouldn't surprise me because, of course, the Romans made wine. So the Visigoths were making wine. And how can you call them barbarians if they were winemakers, right? The other cool thing is right behind me, there's a little market. Now, we just stumbled upon this, and I tried looking it up on Google. I couldn't find any information about this market whatsoever. So I'm going to assume it only falls on Saturdays. Today's Saturday. It looks like it's a temporary market, but it goes along 2 city blocks here in Beja. And what's nice about this market is it looks like there's a lot of local farmers who are selling their produce, like very small, like out the back of their truck type small. Now there's other stuff being sold here that's obviously being wholesaled. You see bananas and stuff. They're not growing bananas here in Beja. But there's tons of fruit and veg, and there's a really cool ceramics guy. There's people who have brined olives. There's nuts that have been harvested, probably from this area as well. So if you're here on a Saturday, that's definitely a place for you to see here in Beja and get some snacks. We're at Os Infantes, which is a little restaurant and bar here in Beja. And this place is so cool. Look at the dining room behind me. This is I was talking to the gentleman who works here, Eduardo, and was asking him when this place was from, you know, what era it was built in. He didn't know exactly, but there are literally like 2 foot, 1 foot, 2 foot wide stone walls in here. He said you can't get Wi-Fi in here because it can't penetrate through these huge stone walls. So you're thinking it's at least 500 years old, maybe even older. This dining room is just gorgeous in here. And the owner is an artist. So he's got his artwork, his paintings that are around the dining room, around this venue. And he's definitely influenced by Picasso, no doubt about it. It has a Picasso vibe to it, and it's nice, it's good artwork. And he took one of his paintings of these nude women and put them on the label of their private labeled wine. So you get to see his artwork not only on the walls, but also on the bottles. And this is the house wine that they pour here in Oceanfantish. It's a red, obviously. And it's nice. It's got some nice tannins to it. I'll tell you, Alentejo, for the longest time, well, Alentejo's the largest producer of wine in all of Portugal. And for the longest time, it was mostly just bulk wine, cheap wine. They grew as many grapes as they could, and they just made a ton of, frankly, mediocre or poor quality wine. Or they took the juice and shipped it up to Porto to be blended with other higher quality wines to make them go a little bit further. Those days are ending, if they're not gone already. Now Alentejo wine is world recognized. And I just kind of wish Alentejo itself, when you come here, would be more easily accessible for their wines. If you want to have good wines in Alentejo, want to try a variety of wines, it's not that easy to do. There's not wine bars here where you walk in and you can try several different varieties. This place, they've got a great little wine cellar back there, but you have to get a bottle, and it's just me and Karen this afternoon. We're not going to drink a whole bottle in the middle of the day. So we get the house wine, and I'm not complaining. It's very good. But I wish places like this, up in Braga, the same problem. You can't find places that have just, you walk in and you're like, all right, I want to try 3 different kinds of reds, or I want to try 3 different rosés, or whatever it is. That's just not a possibility, unfortunately. I wish it was in Alentejo, because the wines here are so, so good. And this is one example of that. So good. What else do we get here? Well, we got some olives. These are really, really good green olives. Not mushy, nice and meaty, delicious. Love it. And then I asked Eduardo if they had Serpa cheese. Serpa is a town a few miles, like 10 miles away from here in Beja, and it's known for their sheep's milk cheese. And the unique thing about Serpa cheese is that they use a coagulant that's made from wild artichoke thistle. If you walk around the countryside in Alentejo, even in our town, in the springtime, these artichoke blossoms come up and bloom in these beautiful purple-pink flowers. They take that thistle and they use that as the rennet. Normally, to coagulate your cheese curds, they use lining of the cow's stomach for cow rennet, which, when you think about it, is kind of gross. But in this case, they use a plant-based rennet. Now, this particular cheese that we're having is not from Serpa. It's a different sheep's milk aged cheese. And it's aged, and it's really strong. This is what we call a barn floor cheese. And that's not a pejorative, that's a compliment. Excuse me. And it goes really nice with this. But this is not a cheese that you're going to be wolfing down. This is a cheese to enjoy slowly, but man, so good. And with the olives, it's a perfect pairing with this wine. There's also a restaurant. We haven't eaten here, but everything I've heard, I've seen people walking in and out, and everyone has just been raving about the food here as well. So this is such a cool, really just genuine place in Beja. And it's another place where we just kind of stumbled upon it. I gotta say, here in Beja, that has been the theme. It's like these places that you just kind of find, that you just kind of stumble upon, where the locals are hanging out, and you find amazing food and you find amazing wine. You know, Beja is a small town. I mean, our city of Setúbal is a small city in Portugal. This place is like a quarter the size of Setúbal. And I gotta say, once you get into the interior of Portugal, the interior away from the coast of Alentejo, it's really been depopulated. Walking around here, you see it's mostly old folks who just haven't left, have lived there all their lives, or immigrants. A lot of the young people, it seems to me, from walking around here, if they have any opportunity, they go to the big city, they go to Lisbon or Porto in Portugal, or more likely, they go somewhere else in the EU where they can make 5, 6, 10 times the salary that they make in Portugal. You go to a place like Switzerland. Switzerland has 14% of the population is native Portuguese born. That's 1 out of 7 people in Switzerland was born in Portugal. That's crazy. Can you imagine if something like that in the US, 1 out of 7? I mean, that's, 50, doing the math in my head, 50 million people, maybe more than that, from one country. That's amazing. So, a lot of these folks have left, a lot of the kids have left, and I just wonder if there's a way that they could find to try to repopulate some of these interior cities. I know the government has tried a few programs, limited success, but that's the way it is. Anyway, that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you want to support me, go to buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink. If you like food and travel, there's the Destination Eat Drink podcast. There's also the Destination Eat Drink blog. You can read all about that at destinationeatdrink.com. There's tons of stuff. I'm constantly putting up new stuff, not just these videos, but podcasts and blog entries and all of that stuff. So thanks for being a part of that, and I'll see you down the road.